All right, guys, welcome to yet another episode on the Stretch Street podcast. This is the energetic EJ, and I'm super excited. I'm always excited to be here week in, week out, and today again, it's no different. Today, I have a guest on the show, and his story is quite interesting, and I'm here for the story. I want to know what pushed him, or what was he after, what was after him for him to move from being somebody in the corporate world to being somebody who's like, I'm like, in a layman's term, like, this dude is homeless. Oh, but he's not homeless, no. He's just a nomad moving around, and I'm super interested to know why. So, today on the show, I'll be talking to Ken Stearns. Ken is a writer, a podcaster, creator, and host like myself. So, yay! A lyricist and photographer. He's a well traveled and seasoned Midwestern kid. Well, scratch that. He's not a kid. He traded in his suit for a van. And this is what we want to unpack in this episode. He traded his suit, his jacket, like looking all corporate, for a van, a mic, and some questions. And it's been over 12 months of him being on this journey, and it's given him so much more than he imagined. Over 200 guests already on his show. That is so fantastic. And today he's here to share with us his stretch story on how this journey from an insurance executive in Asia to the host of the Jar podcast. And what is it about the Jar? We'll find out in this episode. So welcome, and we'll get to meet Ken in a bit.
Hello! So, 60% of those who visit this channel are not subscribed. Are you one of them? Come on! Anyways, I know you forgot, right? So now I'm here to remind you to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't have to miss any of our episodes, alright? Now, let us dive into today's episode and I'll see you on the other side.
All right, Ken. I said your name already. So, Ken, where are you from?
I'm a well-seasoned Midwestern boy. I'm originally from suburbs of Chicago, a little city outside of Chicago, and grew up there. Beautiful, kind of that idyllic life in the '70s, in Middle America, and somehow I ended up an insurance guy in California. And from insurance guy in California, I took a job offer in Asia. So, kind of the short story is I ended up packing up my family. I had two daughters and my wife, and we moved to Hong Kong in 2001. And it, turned into a 20-year career. And towards the end of that, I was really looking, and I had a great career, and I was ready to sign one more contract, stay till I'm 65. Um, and it's a powerful draw, EJ. The money's good, the lifestyle's beautiful, um, travel, food, people. It's a great, but it's also corporate. Um, and it at some point I was really drawn to what am I going to do in my third act? Who am I going to be when I'm 70? Am I that retired insurance guy? Just came back, and really no one knows who I. No one cares what you're doing over in Asia more than 5 minutes. So my life is irrelevant in America, really, after my corporate career in a way. So what do I want to leave behind? Who do I want to be when I grow up? And I started a lot of intentional things without any real idea what the outcome would be. And those things, one was picking up a guitar when I was 52, starting a book again for the second or third time when I was about 52. And ultimately, those things gave me options, and they kind of grew into themselves. And these parallel paths of intentional ideas or intentional actions, but without any real outcome intention. And they came together somehow. And the idea of the jar was formed.
Wow. Okay. That's a sweet journey right there. Okay. So, what's your philosophy about life then?
My philosophy in life is, if I was to put it down to one word, I would say momentum. I'm a huge fan of momentum and the opportunities it creates for you and people around you. When you're moving forward, if you've ever driven if you drive a car and you drive behind a large truck, and the wind from the truck that it blows circles back around, and you could actually get pushed by the truck. I mean, so momentum creates so many opportunities for yourself, for people behind you to follow you as a leader, as a person doing something intentional in a certain direction. And once momentum starts, the more mass you have, the more energy it takes to stop it. It becomes impossible to stop, and you become a force. And again, I like it because you're also disrupting what's in front of you, the air, and that analogy, right? The air in front of you is being disrupted, the whole environment in front of you, and in front of that is a push of molecules of energy that you're affecting, and that whole thing that's happening. And then, like I said, everything behind you is affected, and you can pull people along with you. So momentum. Get out there, do something, start walking, start moving, start writing, start podcasting, start talking to your neighbor, whatever it is, do something that has no end to it.
I love it. As you speak about that, all I hear is legacy, legacy, legacy. What am I going to leave behind? Like, what am I going to be remembered for? Wow, awesome. So, tell us one fun thing about you.
I'm a really bad guitar player, but I'm even a worse singer. God is cruel and has a sense of humor. I don't know which one it is. Either
no, it's a sense of humor. He's a sense of humor. It's not cruel.
It's such a strong sense of humor. It's almost cruel. So, so I've used the guitar for fun. I picked it up. I don't know why. Honestly, it was my third try, and I bought one when I was 52. And the idea was to play it for 2 years. No matter this time, I'm going to play for 2 years. I'm going to get a teacher. And ultimately, what happened was I used it to write songs. And I'm now I can play good enough where I don't hurt my own ears. Mm-hmm. I don't want to play for other people or sing for other people, but it's become my friend. And it's weird because I think I've been gifted with the lyrics. I'm a word man, but I'm not a bird man.
Awesome. That's fair enough. And yeah, so that means somebody else can sing your song.
That's interesting you say that, EJ. Because this is actually what I've just come to realize that actually my songs are intended for somebody else. Yeah. And I haven't met that person. And it's also cool because when I do sing the songs for myself, they change. The meaning is very powerfully changed for me. I wrote the song in one place, and now when I sing it now, the words mean something different to me.
Yeah, it's like a message to you. So yeah.
It's a message to me it was a message from my future self.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah, I really believe that there was a message in there for me to sing this song now, not when I wrote it.
So imagine the effect it can have when you do finally find a singer for it.
The right person.
Wow. Yeah. I hope you do find one soon.
Listening to somebody, I had that imagination the other day that when I see somebody singing my song and their interpretation of it is probably going to crush my soul in a good way, right? I will probably cry like a baby.
I wrote that song.
And it found its home.
An owner. Oh,
It found the voice, right?
I can imagine. What that would feel like. Woo, yeah. So good.
I'm hoping I get that. I'm hoping I'm still alive when it happens.
Talking about momentum, legacy, trying out new things, not fixating on any particular outcome, but just going with the flow, but still be intentional as you go.
Yes.
With all the things you said. We could try it out. I'm a singer. I sing well. because I'm not actively singing, but I sing, so we can see if I could do one of your songs.
If you find a guitar player or somebody, I'll send you this. I'll send you the song, and you can sing it with a guitar player.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ken, for being here. Now let us dive into the story. What was pursuing you, or what were you pursuing that moved you from this corporate world, or to just give you this idea, like, you know what, I don't want to just
Mm,
end like, oh, I'm just a retired insurance guy, but I want
yeah,
more. What was that thing that you were looking for, was looking for you?
yeah. It's kind of a crazy. I'd say not a crazy story, but it's a journey for me, and it's been an interesting one.
Hmm,
I didn't know. I never had the idea to do a podcast. Like I said, I was writing the book for a different reason.
hmm,
Initially, I wanted to write the book to be a public speaker, and then I realized that probably as a straight path was not going to happen for me, not without some zigzaggy. Um, and so I was doing these intentional things, but not really putting a final purpose on them. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was on somebody else's journey. I,
hmm.
it's not really my idea. The weird part is, I wrote the book. I don't think I shared with you the title.
Dear God. Ooh.
So the book is called Dear God, and it's letters to God. And I had lived in these very diversely religious, spiritual countries. I lived in a
Hmm,
communist country with no God. I grew up a Catholic. I lived in a Hindu country, a Buddhist country, and a Muslim country in my
hmm,
time in Asia. And so I ended up, confused and not confused,
hmm,
spiritually. And so I wrote all these letters to God, and was testing my ideas about spirituality, and more so about humanity, because the book covers yesterday, your in your own mind, your yesterdays, your todays, your tomorrows.
hmm,
When you talk to another person, I I ask God about acceptance, forgiveness, compassion.
hmm.
In a humanity approach, I talk about love, karma, service. And when talking to God, I framed it as faith, hope, and prayer.
Yeah.
And so these are the 12 topics that I wrote 400 questions about. And I don't really remember writing the questions. I mean, I remember sitting at the computer up at night with the methodology and reading the book, and just typing and typing and typing 444 questions. And
Hmm,
the odd part was, I wrote the book asking God, do I have this right? Is this what yesterday is? Is this what compassion is? And now somehow that sneaky guy got me to quit my job, drive around in a van, and ask people the questions that I asked God.
how is it sneaky?
I mean, that's pretty sneaky. God is pretty. There's a lot of trickery going on here. I've been I've been hoodwinked into answering my own questions. I got a bone to pick with somebody. I've been tricked. I've been totally tricked into this, EJ, and I can't stand it.
but
Oh,
but I mean, you just said it, like, it's been a fantastic journey, like, beyond your
absolutely
what you
amazing.
imagined, right?
Beyond what I imagined.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it started with the questions and then the book. So how did
Mm.
it morph into you having to go on this movement and then make it a podcast? Because I mean, it could
Yeah,
have been a documentary or something.
yeah, it could have been. This is the part I don't remember. I don't know how these. I know which parts I had going, and I know at some point, write the book, write the questions, but I mean, the podcast idea was there, but I don't know where they all came together. And a lot of it has been handed to me in a way, like a gift, to figure out what to do, and the people that have been put in front of me to help make it happen. I've been given gifts of people at the right place, the right time, showing up. When I got I have a real jar.
These are the 400 questions.
There's 444 questions in there. You can see how big the jar is. I'm holding
Yeah.
the jar up for EJ, and it's about my head could fit in there 2 or 3 times. And it's and so I had the
Wow.
jar. Even the jar was made. I had 4 jars made for the show, and they're very intentionally made by the artist. Um,
Hmm.
and that person I met in 2003 in Indonesia.
Wow.
But when the name came to me to call it the jar, to call the podcast the jar, I immediately knew that that was the gentleman I needed to find to make the
Wow.
jar. And I truly believe today that I met him 20 years ago because I needed him
To
now.
customize this jar now. Hmm. Wow. So, in your journey so far, I love it. Like, but was there anything in particular you remembered that gave the inspiration for you to call it the jar?
Yeah, it was. I remember the moment for sure. There was 2 things that happened. The first one was I had this very British gentleman friend,
Hmm.
and he was a very good business person, very good at marketing. And I had started to craft the idea. I made a white paper because I'm a corporate person. That's what you do.
Yeah.
I made a white paper and a business plan, and I laid out all because also what I was doing was absolutely fanatically crazy, and people were going to look at me like I was nuts.
Yeah.
So I needed to have a business plan. So also I wouldn't think I'm nuts. And so I wrote this great plan. I think it was a great plan, and I covered most everything. I had a lot of the ideas covered, people's questions, and I shared it. And this one gentleman, this British guy, he got on the phone. He says, "Ken, read the paper, blah 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 blah. The only thing I needed to take away was," he goes, "I see a very bespoke jar."
Hmm.
Bespoke, such a British word, right? Such custom. It means very custom, fit for
Customized.
purpose.
Hmm.
And, that just like boom. And that's when I knew I had to find the glass guy.
Wow.
And ultimately I had come to the US for my daughter's graduation, and I went back to Vietnam during COVID, and I spent 1 month in a hotel room in quarantine. And I got back to my apartment, and that night it was very strange. EJ, I sat down at night. I sat down at this big table, my kitchen table, this big table I have, and it just kind of hit me. Just the jar. The show is
Hmm.
called the jar because the jar is the centerpiece. It's got the questions. It's it's the star of the show in a way. And it's the piece. It's the vortex by which we play and get into people's stories. And so it just became the jar. That was the moment.
Wow. Love it. I love it. So far, you've been on this journey for over 12 months. That's over a year. What are some
Mm.
challenges that you have faced, and what lessons did they teach you?
I think that the one of the biggest challenge. I'd say there's a couple different big challenges. One
Mm.
is this managing the business. So one big challenge I've had is being a host, being on the road, running a show, and the plan was one a day. So
Whoa.
every 4 days I change cities, and every city I have 4 guests. That was the plan. I didn't quite get to 4 guests in every city, maybe 3 point something. But it's a crazy fast pace in the planning and everything else. But the team, getting a good team and maintaining a team and a cohesion and everything else has been one big challenge, execution wise. Um,
Mm.
Luckily, everything has worked out in my mind of how I visualize things, they worked out. But one other big challenge too is to make sure that I keep space for myself.
Mm.
I'm hearing a lot of stories, a lot of very personal stories. I'm in the room with people.
Mm.
Uh, I've heard a lot of trauma, a lot of mental health challenges, addictions, deaths from children, talking to parents, suicides. So some real
It's a
beautiful
lot.
outcomes.
Mm,
Mostly the outcome is beautiful, um, like life, right? At the moment,
yeah,
things are the worst, but in the end, in hindsight,
it
as we
makes
look back,
sense. Yeah.
right, it makes sense. We're able to make some sense out of it, and find a lesson. Um, but holy cow, I still go through that journey with people, and so making sure I protect myself, but be open at the same time,
Mm,
has been an interesting part that I didn't realize would be there.
how are you dealing with that?
Um, I think I've gotten way better at it because initially you're quite open, and I'm like an absorbing soul, right? I'm a very open
Mm,
person,
mm,
and I got a lot of empathy, and even the compassion and empathy all at the same time happening. Um, so I'm learning. It's a learning, it's a journey for me to learn
mm.
how to maintain that balance between being compassionate, being there, being vulnerable, but also giving some space for myself. I'm
Yeah.
learning.
Are you getting help with that or you just learning on your own?
I'm okay. I'm okay so far. I don't think I need help.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not too touched yet. There's been a couple of that have stuck with me,
Mm,
and I'm still trying to figure out why those particular
yeah, one.
encounters. And interestingly, one thing I come back to settle on is those people were, I don't want to say it in a right way, but there's something inside them which is not good. Genuinely,
Mm,
and I believe genuinely in good people, but there are people who are, I'd say, not possessed, because that sounds a little bananas, but they're harboring a lot of real rough emotions
mm,
and experiences which are still within them,
okay.
and if you're
Mm.
not careful, that energy can escape. It's
Yeah.
kind of my best analogy.
So, but I mean, it's very interesting that you are aware, which is really good because I mean, if you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
not aware, I mean, I don't know, I don't know what will be happening right now.
Yes, right?
So, how do you deal with having to move about and everything? How do you deal with family, or how's your
Well,
family able to cope with it?
yeah, so I'm single now. So that's one part of the equation is kind of solved, but it also leaves me, leaves can leave me a little bit lonely. I am alone. I'm on the road myself, so I have two daughters. They both have their, I've got two daughters are grown. I've got I'm a grandfather,
Mm,
it's great. My kids are really grown and mature and doing their own thing. In fact,
mm.
my youngest daughter, very strangely, weirdly, accidentally, is on my team.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
It's really, I'm super blessed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. But I hope, just me praying a bit, I hope it's not this journey that affected your family, that affected
No,
you
not this
being
journey.
alone. Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, not
So
this. Long
you
time
lived,
ago.
you
Long
took
ago.
the leap before, you took this leap while you were single already, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's part
Oh,
of too me being alone also allowed me to find myself a bit.
yeah,
The
to have some space
creativity
to like,
and
okay, what can
to
I
have some space.
do?
It is amazing what some space will do for people. And thinking, you're thinking about, being alone. There's a lot of power in being alone. And I think if you can find comfort in being alone with yourself and your own skin, once you come inside there and you can find that playground, it's a beautiful place and a creative place. We are so powerful, and there's so much the every person can do, I believe. But it is finding, slow down, yes, deep breath, and think. Let your mind go.
I love it. I love it. What is one thing that you can leave with us, the best part of this journey for you? If you think about it so far, what has been the best part like? You see, this one, I'm holding on to it for the longest time.
Humanity is amazing, and
Mm,
the human spirit is unbreakable. seemingly unbreakable, even though people feel broken and they get to the breaking point,
Mm.
but they find out that they're not broke, that actually there's one more level and another level. And when you've reached the darkest place, there's another level and you're stronger than you can imagine. And I've heard stories of redemption and struggle, that would you wouldn't imagine someone could come out of it. And the
Mm.
story gets worse. Like you hear the story and it's like, you know, when I was just like, for example, the guy's so, he wants to kill himself. He tries to drink himself to death, can't drink himself to death. So finally he ends up somehow, gets rescued by a friend, ends up in his own basement. He's getting something from the basement so his wife can take him to the treatment center.
Wow.
But he's not done yet. Figures one last trance, ties an extension cord around his head and tries to kill himself in the basement while his wife's getting the keys ready to go to the treatment center.
Wow.
You like, and he came out of all that to be a motivational speaker.
Isn't that
I mean,
fantastic that we are eternal? Like that
like
is just we
absolutely.
are
I'm like, you aren't
like
supposed to die, my friend. You're not. That's not your. Like, I'm sorry, but that was not supposed to happen. And and he said, just talking to people like this and hearing the stories. And so, for anybody listening, if you are in a dark spot and you're going through a tough time, the first thing is it will end. It will come, momentum. Keep going, and you will come out the other side of this dark tunnel. And the other one is it's dark and you can't see, but if you put out your hands, you're not alone. Somebody is there with you. Somebody's going through the same journey. So, stay strong, believe in yourself. It's going to end. This too shall pass. And, you're good enough. You're good enough
yeah,
just like you are.
I love it. I love it. I'm I'm really glad that you're a person of faith as well. So I feel personally that that's one anchor that also holds you, and
Absolutely.
and
If you have God in your life, then you always have the hand to hold.
absolutely, absolutely, no matter what. Thank you so much, Ken. It's just been interesting and life giving speaking to you, and
Yeah.
knowing that. I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 61.
Whoa, at 61, you're still moving around. Got a long way to
Oh
go.
yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. I'm just getting started, EJ.
I love it. I love it. And I wish you all the very best as you move
Yeah.
around. Wish you God's protection and, again, protection physically and then,
Mm.
mentally as well
Emotional.
as you share all this, amazing and fantastic story. Thank you for being here on the show. If anyone wanted to get into your books or they wanted to be on your show,
Mm.
what is that like? Just talk about it and then we'll close this
Yeah,
out.
I mean, the easiest place to find the stuff I'm doing and we're doing on the show is at www.thejar.live. So just thejar.live. And then you can
Mm.
find everything, the podcasts, the books. You can see where I'm going. My travel schedule is there. You can see where in the US I'm at anytime, kind of live.
Are you
And
planning to leave the US anytime?
I am thinking of a tour maybe in India.
Oh,
I
okay.
have quite a few. I live there for a bit. I have some good friends there. It's English speaking.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the jar. So, I would use an extension of the jar in India.
Yeah,
So, it's kind
that
of
would be
cooking.
nice.
It's cooking.
That would be nice. Thank
Oh,
you
it would be
so
so much
much.
fun.
I can imagine already. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here.
uh,
Thank you for
some
all
old
you do.
white, some old white guy running around India, right, with my white hair, and I got this. Can you imagine how bananas that would be?
I know, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
if you ever think about coming to Dubai, let us know so that we can welcome you. You know, the
I
man
love
in
you,
the
EJ.
van is in town.
I'd love to be driving my van in Dubai. That'd be awesome. Oh, thank you, EJ,
Oh,
so much for letting me on the show, having me on as
thank
a
you.
guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much as well. Do take care now and enjoy the rest of the exploration.
Yes.
All right. All right, guys. I hope that you have had fun because I have my jaw ache from smiling so much. Ken is such a lively person to talk to, and I could go on just asking questions, but the show has got to end today. Again, you want to know all about what Ken is doing, the kind of stories he's sharing, the people that he's had on his show. Just go to thejar.live. I'm going to leave the link in the description, and so you can just go and explore with him. In case if you're in the US and he's in your city and you have a story to share as well, you can always get in touch with him. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being on the show today. Till I come your way again next week with another story, telling you like resilience is real. Just keep being amazing. This is the energetic EJ, and this is the Stretch Street Podcast. Bye bye.
Hey, thank you for watching today's episode. I really do hope that you found it valuable. All right, if you did, please visit us again next week when we will put out another episode. In case you forgot at the beginning or at the middle, now is a good time to click on the subscribe button, turn on notifications so that you don't get to miss any of our episodes. All right, till we come your way again next week, remember also to read the description of this video for any links that might be there that would help you or also help you support the work that we do here. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye bye.